And hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us as always. I'm super excited about our conversation today. We're going to talk about some things that if you are a leader of any sort or want to be one, and this could be in the real estate industry or any industry, this could be you leading a team or an entire organization of people. There might be something here that you want to know about. You may not even be aware of it. And now that you are going to become aware of it today, you can do something about it. And so Haley, let's have you start with what a silo in business or on a team or in an organization is.
Absolutely. So today's topic, like Carrie said, is going to be silos. And a lot of times in real estate, we do not use this term. So it might be new to you. But many times as leaders, we tend to make decisions for our organization in vacuums. And what does that mean? It means that we're making decisions without the input or collaboration of everyone else that's on the team. Now, there are a lot of detriments that could happen when you create these silos. So, when you're working, a silo is really working independently, not getting feedback, there's lack of collaboration. Um, and it doesn't just happen with leaders or like team leads or CEOs, Carrie. It really could happen with anybody within the organization. If you're a director of a department, or if you're a project manager, an executive assistant, even, it could happen within all aspects of a team. And like I said, there's a lot of detriment that could happen, a lot of destruction, even very, very costly mistakes can happen without the collaboration or the influence of everybody on the team. And I really think that the main reason is because no single person on a team owns the whole truth for the organization, right? Each person on the team is in their own role, in their seat. And so their perspective is skewed based on what their role is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I can think of it from a leadership perspective, and I'm sure you can think of it from a whole bunch of different perspectives, even being a chief of staff or a director of operations. I think naturally what we do, and I know what I've done before in all transparency, is we want to not only control because we feel more comfortable when we're controlling, there's certainty. We know certain things are going to happen when we just do it. Not the right answer, but a common answer that people run to. But even more than that, I think as a leader of some sort of department, organization, or real estate team, we feel this responsibility that we have to do all the things and then
Mhm.
bring it forth and share all this value and come up with all these ideas and then tell everybody we're going to do something. And we think of it as value and like this is something they didn't need to worry about or contribute to or stress about or plan. We're just going to bring it to them in hope. And we just assume that they're going to be super excited about it. And then sometimes we do this and then people are like, not as excited and we're
Right.
upset. Like, why aren't you as excited about this as I am? And I wonder, there's probably lots of leaders out there who have been in that situation where they've done something like that and they haven't quite gotten the response that they were hoping for. And that's because this was an example of creating a silo in a business where you make the decision, you plan it, you execute it, you bring it forth, and then you just assume everybody's going to be as excited about it as you. Problem with that is you don't know every single thing about every part of the
Right.
team, what people really want and need. You're just coming from your own perspective, making those assumptions and delivering something upon that fact. But that's not really the true reality for everyone, right?
Right. And so I think that that's a good segue into talking about some of the issues that these silos, or what I've heard in our business, is like staying in your own swim lane. And
Mm-hmm.
that's true. We don't want to micromanage, right? And so
Right.
there's a difference between micromanaging and creating, silos. But what we want is we want collaboration. And there's a difference, Carrie, between collaborating, getting input from everyone, and
Mm-hmm.
consensus. So a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times as leaders, we don't necessarily need consensus. We don't need
Right.
everybody to be on the same page. But what we do need is we need input. We need
Mm-hmm.
collaboration because, Carrie, as operations manager, my view and my perspective from where I'm sitting is going to be different from your perspective, right? Or maybe somebody on the marketing team, let's get their
Mhm.
perspective, or let's get a listing agent's perspective or a buyer agent's perspective. So, the issues that silo creates, one of the main issues is going to be the lack of inclusion, right?
Mm,
So when, like you said earlier, when a leader comes forward and they say, "Hey, we've made this great change in the organization and we're really excited about it. We're looking forward to implementing this new system or strategy." And kind of everyone's in the room like, what just happened? Like, why did he do this? And everybody's just kind of smiling, like, yeah, this is great.
mhm.
So awesome, right? But then the conversation, the real conversation that needs to be had, it actually happens like in the hallway, right? When like no one else is listening except for like me and you. And
Right.
we're like, oh my God, why did he do that? That's a terrible idea. Like,
Yeah.
does he have any idea how our customers are going to feel or how other agents are going to
Mhm,
feel? Right. So
mhm.
that idea of providing the illusion that
Mhm.
you've actually been included when you haven't been
Yeah.
included. But the CEO or the director or whatever, they're really excited to present this to you, but they didn't ask you for your opinion, right? They
Yeah.
didn't ask
Right.
you what's
They just
going
made an
on.
assumption. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And with that, I think so. I love that you bring up inclusion because if we're really building a collaborative group of people, which that's what we do when we build real estate teams, it's what we do when we lead departments of organizations or just build some sort of business. The idea behind it is that together we can achieve more. Otherwise, we just do it ourselves. Right. And so, if we really, in fact, want that, then we have to realize that inclusion is a very, very big part of uh, the collaborative efforts, the culture, the truly just coming up with better ideas together than any single person ever could by themselves, simply because they only have the one perspective, they only do the one role. So you mentioned like staying in your own lane. We talk about that oftentimes in running a business. It is critical to own your role, stay in
Hmm.
your lane, and make sure you're rowing in the same direction or swimming in the same direction. That's how we all go further faster and not cross over and then create problems for each other. But that does not mean that we aren't coming forth with collaborative
Right.
ideas on a system, a tool, a strategy, or whatever that impacts all of us. It just might impact all of us in a different way because we're in different lanes. And so I
Right.
think the biggest mistake is that the leader is not consciously aware that they're creating these silos. They actually are under the perception that by taking ownership, just going for it, doing it, and bringing these ideas and these new things forth, that it's going to be positive and a value. And this is what people want to be in business with them for. And this is their leadership role. It's a bit egoic,
Right.
not in a negative way, but more like people need to want me, need to need me. I need to provide the value. I need to do the things. That's how we are going to move forward together. And that is a very subconscious way of thinking. And you and I know this, and we've talked about this a lot. We both have studied this. 75-80% of our lives we're in a subconscious or an unconscious
Right.
state. We're doing these things and we don't even really realize what we're doing. And I've seen leaders, and myself included, have had these experiences where we realize in the moment what we just did
Hmm.
was not the right thing to do because we just did it out of a feeling or a subconscious thought pattern. And then when it was all over, we went, oh, we probably should have consciously made some different decisions here and done it differently. So, what I love about this conversation, Haley, is let's bring people into more of a conscious thought pattern around their leadership.
Right.
So the question I would ask somebody is like, have you shown up that way as a leader in some way? Are you creating these silos? Not on purpose. Most of the time it's not intentional or even conscious. So if you are, or if you have, like Haley, what would you say are the action items? How do you undo that? How do you step into a different way of thinking and do it differently? How do you become more inclusive? What would some of those ideas or strategies be?
Sure. Well, I think today what I'd like to do is I'd like to just plant a seed in
Mhm,
those who are listening about an idea that you might have, a project that you're working on, an incentive, something that needs to be moved forward in your business. Just
mhm,
think of that in your mind. And before you make any decisions, write down what your vision is for that. And as you're thinking of that, think of everyone who you can collaborate with. And I wouldn't, when I say collaborate, all it really means is think outside the box. Think about who are other people who might actually influence this idea or this project. And who can you reach out to and ask about this? So think of your vision, think of a project or an idea that would benefit from hearing other perspectives. Okay. And then reach out to those people. Reach out to them, organize a Zoom call. I definitely wouldn't do it in an email, right? Just emailing back and forth or a group text. No, get everybody together on Zoom or go down to the corner office and just sit there with everybody, maybe 7, 8 people, could be less, maybe 4 or 5 people. Sit down with them, tell them what your vision is, and ask them for their advice, ask them for their opinion. What decision would they make if they were you, right? And so it's just about getting everyone else's perspective, right? Just to make this idea or this um, project go from a 5 to a 7 or from a 7 to a 10, right? Before you actually implement it. Ask questions. Just ask everybody's questions. How
Yeah.
would this affect you? How can we make this idea better? What are we missing? How would this impact our client? How would this impact an agent? Right? Um, it's just about asking questions. And like I said, it doesn't have to be that everyone's on the same page. Consensus isn't necessary, but it's the collaboration, it's creating a space where alternative perspectives, even competing perspectives, really can be heard and shared.
And even when a leader doesn't make a decision, that is exactly how somebody else would do it. What we do know is that people absolutely find value in being heard and
Yes.
seen and being asked because it shows that you care and appreciate their opinion. So even at the beginning, I've had some leaders say, I will say at the beginning, I don't know that I don't know that we can find a solution that's going to appease every single person 100%. And so I don't come into this conversation with you all with that expectation because that may be a very, very difficult expectation to reach. That being said, all of you are very important to me. Your opinions, your perspectives, and your insight is very important to me. So I'm hopeful that when we all come together and share that, the best solution is going to come forth because it's taken all of this into account. And people can walk away feeling very valued, feeling like a contributing member of this organization. And don't you believe that just by having that conversation, they now have a very different level of buy-in to the vision or to the new process or system or project or whatever it might be, just simply because they were part of the process?
Yes, I definitely agree with that. I would also warn people not to create a sense of false inclusion where you're
Mm-hmm.
just kind of going through the motions as a leader and you're creating what you think is a space for other people to be heard, but really you're just going through the motions and you're not being authentic. So you invite people to the meeting, you tell them what your vision is, you ask for their opinion, but maybe you're just kind of like on your phone, right? Or you just like roll your eyes whenever they provide an opinion, or you automatically say something along the lines of, no, we've already tried that,
Yeah.
right? You're not, you are trying to be intentional, right? But you're not being authentic. And really, in that case, you're just going to offend people and waste people's time. And that's called the illusion of inclusion. We definitely don't want that to happen. So when you're coming to these meetings, be
Mm-hmm.
prepared and want people to change your mind. I mean,
Yeah.
I think of the book that's written by Adam Grant.
Yes.
Um, is it Rethink? I think that's what it's called.
Rethink. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what the whole book is about. It's
Yeah.
about leaders coming forward and saying, I have this really great idea. Prove me
Mm-hmm.
wrong.
Mm-hmm. I
Change my
want you to.
yes, I
Mm-hmm.
want you to change my mind about this.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing and incredible philosophy of going in to each meeting, letting go of all your expectations, surrendering,
Yeah.
and just being fully present and actually listening, creating the space where
Mm-hmm.
people feel so safe that they can say, Carrie, I'm really sorry, but this is not a good idea. And here's
Mm-hmm.
the reason why,
Mm-hmm.
so that we
Mm-hmm.
can all walk away actually being empowered and then moving the ball forward. We're because we all want the same thing, right?
That's right.
We're wanting to grow the business. We're wanting to grow ourselves, but the
Right.
space and the culture has to be created in order to do that.
Yeah. And I mean, here's the reality. You have to, as a leader, you just have to let the ego go. And because it's going to be, if that is the one thing, and it's again, not a conscious decision, and ego isn't a bad word. It's just the part of our brain that wants to protect us. We all want to be seen as right. And as a leader, we even feel an overwhelming need to feel right because and liked and right because people are following us. And there's this perception of if I'm not right, then what are they following me for? And so it's a defense mechanism, but it
Oh
is
yeah.
absolutely 100% what will not allow you to move into that collaborative space and actually freely and openly ask for the feedback and receive it in a way that they feel that you are totally okay with it and that they feel appreciated and heard and seen. So when you're creating that false illusion of inclusion, it's because you haven't worked on yourself in that way yet. So it really starts with us as the leader to break down those barriers and be really conscious about that, right? So number one, I mean, awareness is the first step in
Right.
anything. And then acceptance of, okay, it is what it is. And this is how I am right now. And then how do I change it? Because we can't change anything we're not aware of and that we don't accept first. So as a leader, I think we have to accept that we might be creating silos. And this is maybe why we are. And what's the number one thing we can do inside ourselves to grow, which will ultimately grow us as a leader? And then how do we grow our business? If truly it's about the business growth and all the people and it's not about us, then we should be able to let that down and go forth in that meeting and create that culture of openness, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you brought up a really good point. That might be actually a really good conversation for next week is people follow leaders not because they're the smartest people in the room. They follow them because of the emotional impact that you're making on your employees. You're affecting people emotionally and intelligently. You're affecting their mind and their heart. So when we think of who the best boss is, right? Our best boss is not the person who is smart and they have all of the answers and they're right all the time. No, the best boss are the people who impact us emotionally in a very positive way, and they want us to grow personally and professionally. Those are the best bosses.
Yeah, let's talk about that next week. I think that would be great. Awesome. Thanks you guys so much for joining us for our real talk again on Tuesday. We hope that you guys are subscribing to our YouTube channel. We are adding more and more of these on. So if you don't catch them on Facebook or you don't really like to watch video on Facebook, you can find us over there. We'll go ahead and tag our YouTube channel below as well. And we'll see you back here next Tuesday. Thanks as always for your talk, Haley. Talk to you
Bye.
soon. Bye.